Let me begin by telling you that it's always a humbling honor to be asked to act as the juror or judge, and in this case both, for any exhibition. I want to thank the Mid-American Pastel Society for that privilege, and to also thank the amount of work that everybody involved in this exhibition has done. It's a beautiful exhibition, and I congratulate your society. So the Mid-American Pastel Society's 2020 National Exhibition, Adventures in Pastel, is now going to be currently available for viewing. Congratulations to all of the artists that are part of this exhibition. Your work is beautiful. Thank you for sharing it. To anyone whose work did not make it into the show, I encourage you to continue to put your artistic voice out there, and to always remember that it is merely one person's opinion, and never let that stop you from your self-expression. To those of you that have won these awards, I congratulate you in advance. And tomorrow, your work begins anew with a blank piece of paper. The first honorable mention goes to Judith Leeds, There Went My Diet. Over all of the decades, over 5 now that I've worked in fine art, mostly representational, it's been exciting to see the more contemporary views that have come on. This is a still life. We know that we're looking at a box of donuts. But what's so exciting is the artist has chose to look straight down. We can then see the whimsy of the portrayal of There Went My Diet, with the donuts that have already been tasted and tried. Now beyond that, if we really look at this as an abstract placement of shapes, textures, values, and colors, we can really see an exciting piece where the artist has used the same tenets applied in abstraction, compositionally applied to a representational subject. Very competent use of the pastel medium, which is always one of the things that I'm looking for when I'm judging. So congratulations, Judith. The next honorable mention goes to Mary Druk, I Think I See It. And this piece stood out to me because of the artist's handling of what can be an extremely difficult subject to portray well. In these type of situations where the land masses are usually very dark and heavy and busy compared to water masses and skies, that visual placement, the counterposition and movement of things within the scene can be a challenge, and Mary has really risen to that challenge. The figures are gestural, they're part of the story, they also set a scale. Without them, we can imagine how big and vast this scene is, but with them, we now compare them to the things in the distance. I was also very pleased to see the appearance of the spontaneity within the application. It doesn't feel frozen, and a gorgeous atmospheric perspective, which is another thing that always stands out to me. So congratulations, Mary, on your piece. The next honorable mention goes to Shirley Anderson, Carpinteria Oceanside. And this piece elevated itself and stood out. I'm always looking for a degree of diversity within the pieces selected, not just for exhibition, but for award. And this piece was a joyous use of color around a scene that is fairly commonplace in these situations, brush and a bank and some trees, but the artist has taken it a level higher, a level farther. They've elevated the sense of color and texture and luminosity so that it's communicating beyond just what the subject matter content is, and so thus we're feeling it on a different way. The spontaneity, again, is huge. I love painterly paintings. My personal bias is that we're not here to paint pictures, we're here to paint paintings, and I really believe that Shirley has done that with this piece. So congratulations, Shirley. The next honorable mention goes to Matrina Zingler, Fading. And this is a gorgeously dynamic piece. It's a much more tonal palette. Color is present, the same harmonious, luminous sense of color that we see in the previous piece, but it's more diminutive. So the power becomes more about value. So the harmony is dead on, the sense of air and space, but it really is the power of the value. And beyond that, the composition. Placing that precariously high hillside and that sense of looking down creates a very introspective scene, which again goes beyond just the commonplace or the norm that we see in so many pieces. The other two elements that stood out a lot in this piece was the wonderful gestural mark making within the grasses and the brush. The artist is again showing a spontaneity and more the attitude of these objects instead of the frozen rendered photographic means. Very realistic painting, but not photographic. And then to see the appearance of some of the substructure translucently, some of the splatters and things that may have been part of the underpainting just adds another dimensional element. So congratulations, Martrina. It's a beautiful piece. The next honorable mention goes to Andrew McDermott. What color next? And isn't that the question for every artist? What next? Am I done? Is there more I should do? It's all a question mark. And in this piece, what we see is really a beautiful painting. If the portrayal of the pastel sticks and the edge of the piece unframed was not part of the finished piece of artwork, it would be a beautiful painting, an extremely wonderful, competent urban scene painting, showing the beauty of light and textures and atmosphere within that setting. But in this piece, Andrew has really taken us a step farther too. We are the artist as the viewer, looking at our artwork, looking down upon our artwork, really asking, should I do this? Shouldn't I do that? It also really helps our audience, beyond those of us that work in pastel, to understand the tools that are in front of us as we create these paintings. So I thought this was very innovative and very much appreciated. It's always exciting to see something new and different. So congratulations, Andrew. The first award of merit goes to Chris Gibson, and it's called Bernie and Jeremy Sight Fishing. I adored this piece. This is one of the paintings that I personally went back to over and over again. As I've already said, we all have our prejudices. As much as I try to stay neutral and subjective about all of the elements, the use of pastel as a medium, the competence of all of drawing, value, color, edges, and texture, we still come back to things that really speak to us. Atmosphere is one for me, and luminosity, and this artist has portrayed this exquisitely. There's a simplicity. The trees are not overdone. The figures are perfect within this scene. They're not artificial. They are done by the same artist that has painted the water and the hillside across the way. Our eye knows where to go and linger within this piece for a moment. And I couldn't imagine doing it better. There's not a thing within this piece that I think could have been improved. So congratulations, Chris. The next award of merit goes to Sandy Nelson, Lemonade Days. And the first thing we notice in this piece is that it is very reminiscent of a classic period that we all adore now, both American and French Impressionism. The elevation of light in those artists' exploration gave the representational art world another vision into what's possible. Beyond that in this piece, and beyond the competence of the person in their drawing skills, handling of two figures, the hands are exquisite, again the features and the faces and things are just beautifully done. I congratulate you for that. Is the beauty within the compositional portrayal, the placement of the figures, the attitude within the figures. So there's just so much to adore in this piece. Congratulations, Sandy. The next award of merit goes to Roger Ambrosier, Evening Crickets. This is one of those moments when we look at this scene we've all experienced, where it's the twilight time, it's the beginning of evening, the crickets are making their sound or the sounds around us, there's a stillness, and the moon is rising off in the distance. Evening awaits. Art is meant to communicate to all of us. And the tonalist movement in art was one that talked about the sense of atmosphere and the elevation of atmosphere within their work. And I believe that this artist has done that, again, with extreme competence and skill. I also really appreciated the breaking of a rule. There's so many rules in painting, and the rules are there for good reason. They stop us from getting into trouble. But this artist has placed the major tree shape in the background dead center, but then counterbalanced it with the tree off to the left, and of course the light on the other side. Every other element within the piece works as a perfect counterbalance to that. So again, a nice little expressionistic, impressionistic feeling, but it does evoke feeling. And art is meant to do that for all of us. So congratulations, Roger. Wonderful piece. The next award of merit goes to Rita Romero, Social Isolation. As I've previously mentioned, breaking rules and doing things differently is grand in the art scheme. It elevates work when it's pulled off to not just be commonplace and normal. A square can be a tough composition for some because the basic rules of compositional placement cannot be applied. Rita's confronted this square, which can be visually awkward, straight on. She's placed the portrait, the figurative person here, dead center. If we really look at just the shapes and beyond that this is a face and a beard and shoulders, and we just analyze those shapes, we can really see the degree of symmetry being utilized here, which again creates a more exciting appearance within the square. To break that, we notice the face, the eyes looking down, the head ever so slightly turned, and so there becomes the break with that symmetry, that little window into the movement within the piece. I also want to point out that Rita's handling of the face and the figure, from the exquisite flesh tones, and again that translucent luminosity, to beautiful edges and no over-rendered sense of what is there. We don't see too much, we see just enough, and this is really masterfully finessed. Congratulations, Rita. The next award of merit goes to Carol Peebles, Quarantine Zen Masters. And this is a perfect segue. What we see here is Carol, with all the same competence I just mentioned in a portrait figurative work, is there. Phenomenal drawing skills, wonderful use of edges, found places, the hints at texture. But in this piece by Carol, what I really loved is that the imagery now becomes more of a major part of the story. We can understand the window, the inside, the seated figure looking beyond us, off to the almost through us and off into the distance, lost in thought. The hand contemplatively holding the hair, in deep thought, in deep retrospective imagery. And then the cat, just the perfect counterbalance element, looking out of the window. So we can sense just from the imagery in this piece what the artist has chose to portray so much about what the artist wants us to know. Some artists really only communicate through their technique and their mastery, which is phenomenal, and other artists also choose to use imagery. And Carol has done that beautifully in this piece. The next award of merit goes to Charles Peer, Yesterday's Lovely Lady. And what stood out for me in this piece is that Charles has taken again that sense of light and air that the Impressionists gave us to play with. Light is all color, the elevation of color within the piece. It works. The color is strong, yet the whole painting has a sense of harmony. And then we look at the design. Instead of the whole building and the whole story, he's elevated within this piece the beauty of the patterns of these shapes. The mystery of the window, the curve of the edges on the old roof, with the tin and the bricks holding it in place so that it doesn't blow and rattle too much in a windstorm. So texture and edges and color and value are just marvelous in this piece. I congratulate Charles in his mastery of pulling that off, and again sharing his vision for the beauty of not just the shapes, but the elevation of color. The third place award goes to Elena Prudnikova, painting titled Barbara. So we're back to again a square. The artist has again chosen with the square, in this case, a different artist obviously, to place the main part of the figure and the chair dead center. It occupies the center sphere. The placement of the two plants become a perfect counterbalance. This speaks to Byzantine Renaissance art in Western civilization, the sense of balance and perfection, even to the legs of the credenza or the bookcase that's holding items in the back, again symmetrically placed. Then we notice the cat and the shoes, the position of the figure from the feet up into the face and the book. And here we see the asymmetrical subtle movement within the piece. So our eye flows and yet is held and lingered within that symmetrical moment. This is the hand of a master that can pull these things off. It's not just symmetrical, it's asymmetrical, symmetrical composition. It's beautiful. The artist also is utilizing imagery. The child lost in thought and wonder, fascinated by something that they've explored within this book. And then the cat looking at us. Wonderful piece, exquisitely well done, and a wonderful use of pastel. Congratulations, Elena. The second place award goes to Marcia Streepy, Cliff Walkway. This was a piece, now I can again speak personally, when there's a lot of really good work, how do you end up picking the pieces that are going to stand out? And this is where I just have to accept that I do have my certain likes and dislikes at times. So the artist has handled pastel beautifully, but what I adore within this piece is the stolen moment, the glimpse of something that we could see every day passing on our way to work, on our way home, on a walk, and we never really stop and think about it. It's just there. So through the eyes of the artist, we see texture. We see light and drama and that intensity. We see the beauty in an urban scene that may be a factory or something that most people would not think of as beautiful. And even the walkway and the roadways and the power lines and things. It's a wonderful gift that the artist can again take the mundane, the simple, the things that our audiences would never on their own stop and look at, and yet we elevate it to a place of contemplation and beauty. So I couldn't deny this piece. It's one of my very favorites, and I really want to congratulate Marcia in doing that and continuing that mission of beauty in the mundane. The first place or Best of Show award goes to Anna Lepagina, and it's Angia. And I apologize to any of you for my pronunciations, which I am sure I have misspoken, so I apologize in advance. But the art and the visual cannot be denied. What a great piece. The artist's, again, competent use of pastel, the mastery of both soft and sharp use of pastel, the wonderful secondary color palette that lies at the core of this, creating a gorgeous harmony from the violets to the orange to the subtle greens that we see dispersed throughout the piece. This gorgeous porcelain skin, exquisitely done with the edges and the depth, the sensitivity to the mouth. Capturing youth can be a really difficult thing to do as an artist, because we start sharpening and clarifying things as a way of trying to explain what's on the face. And that becomes the more mature face as we age. Our definitions become stronger and set in stone, but in the child, they're so soft and so gentle and so innocent. The almost blank contemplative stare of the child looking towards us, yet through us, is just magical. It's mysterious and magical at the same time. So this piece, again, ticked every single box, and in reviewing all of the work, I just kept coming back to it, as I did with all of the pieces discussed today. And that's really, so I want to congratulate Anna on this exquisite piece. And in conclusion, I just want to say again that any given day I could come back and review this show, the whole show for both jurying and judging, and see and experience different things. We as humans are a continuum. Every day we go through different moods, we learn more, we look at the world through different perspectives, and we look at art the same way. So embrace that continuum. Enjoy your journey, as I love to say. Painting is not a destination. It is a journey. It's a journey of exploration and the possibilities. And I want to celebrate what I'm seeing here, which is the imagery through your eyes, which then allows me to grow as an artist. So I thank you for this privilege, and I congratulate everyone involved, from the society and the hard works on your efforts to advance the medium of pastel, to the artists that again take that chance of putting our children out, not just for judgment, but for view. It's how we communicate, and all of you are communicating beautifully to me and to the rest of the world. So continue to be creative.